I see what they're talking about. There's a thing in the front of it. Okay. Hi there, everybody. My name is Joanne Schmalenberger. I own Gravoxy, which means gravity and oxygen. We do rebounding, which is a cellular and lymphatic exercise protocol that we use to help cellular health and immune system health. And I'm so excited to be here with all of you, but also to introduce Pratibha Shah. And I'm just going to give you a little introduction. Some of you know her, and she doesn't need an introduction because she's just fabulous. But Pratibha Shah is BMS, MD, Ayurveda, MPH, founder of President Global Council of Ayurveda Research, is an internationally renowned Ayurveda expert for her pioneering initiatives. She was nominated in the top 20 Women of the Year in 2014. Before moving to the United States, she was working as Chief Medical Officer for Ayusha Ministry. In 2019, she was featured in an international documentary on Ayurveda. She is the founder, president of 2 nonprofits, and the CEO of Ayurveda LLC. Welcome and enjoy the presentation.
Thank you, Joanne. And thank you for inviting me for this talk about Ayurveda. First of all, welcome everyone. Thank you for taking out time to join. So let's get started. And before we dive into the intro to Ayurveda, I would invite all of you to take 30 seconds to close your eyes and join me in a quick grounding session. I think we need it multiple times in the day, but especially at this time when it is the end of the day and you're trying to get into something that will require your attention. It's always helpful to do a quick grounding. So if it helps you, you can close your eyes. If not, you can keep them open. All I'm going to invite you to do is gently bring your awareness to nothing but your breath. As you are bringing your attention to your breath, gently disconnect with everything else that is demanding your attention and energy at this time. Give yourself the permission to detach and disconnect and just be in this present space. As you observe your breath, try and ensure that your belly is gently coming out as you inhale, allowing your lungs to expand and get in more oxygen. And as you exhale, gently observe your belly going in. Allow this breathing pattern to settle down in a rhythm that is natural and effortless. As you start breathing this way, just scan your awareness from the top of your head to the bottom of your spine. Try and relax all the areas that appear to be tense or contracted. Just imagine all these areas expanding and surrendering to the gravity of Mother Earth. Let go Pay special attention to your neck, shoulders, lower back, and tailbone. And now, whenever you're ready, you can rub your hands if you like. Put them on your face, eyes, and gently open your eyes. All right. Welcome, everyone. Once again, sorry, I have to admit people. Yeah, okay. All right. So today, we are going to learn some basic information about a very vast, ancient, traditional science of healing. Because it is such a vast and deep science, today I'm only going to be able to manage the introductory part of it. However, my effort is going to be to give you a good overview of what this science is about. Some of you who have joined already have heard about it, know about it, and some of you may just be curious about it. We are recording this talk today, so anybody else who might be curious about it will be able to take advantage and get a little 101 about what this system of health and life is all about. I deliberately avoid calling it a system of medicine because it's much more than that, and medicine is just but a tiny part of it. So with that, I'll start sharing my screen. I have tried to keep the slides to a minimum. It's a 90-minute session, so I will leave enough time at the end to, answer any questions and listen to you, your comments, your concerns, or inputs, thoughts, and that will be towards the end. But during the talk, if you have any urgent questions, if there's something you absolutely are not able to understand, let me know. All right, so we'll get started. I'm going to start with sharing my screen. So this is a little bit of a disclaimer because none of the holistic practitioners are licensed in this country. I want to make sure that I'm formally intimating all my audience today that this presentation is meant for educational purposes only. None of the information in this presentation is meant to replace a medical advice. The information presented in the slides is not verified or approved by the FDA or any such agency. And the presenter, which is me, makes no claim, promise, or guarantee of any kind regarding the information presented here and expressly disclaims liability of any kind. So with that out of the way, I think these are some of the common questions that people may ask. Why are we talking about an ancient 5,000-year-old science or system in the 21st century? So I'll try to answer that question and issues and challenges with the current healthcare system, just to get a little bit of a background into why are we even talking about Ayurveda in current times. And with the background of the issues and challenges with the current healthcare system, what else then? So when we talk about what else, there is a lot of confusion in the mind of the general people, lay people, that there are so many modalities out there. How to choose, which one to choose. So I'll just talk about that very briefly. And then most of the time I'll spend on why Ayurveda and what is Ayurveda. So I have just a few slides to give you a little bit of a background into what are some of the challenges with the current healthcare system. And before I get into that, I want to remind everybody who is here today and who will be listening later that the Western medical system is not very old. It's about 200, 300 years old. And if we talk about the first miracle drug in Western medicine, which is penicillin, that's barely 100 years old. So we are, as a world population, following the Western care model in most of the countries in the world. And the Western care model is a very young system. So we need to keep that in our mind as we start to learn about what is Ayurveda. Now, what are some of the challenges with the current Western model of healthcare, especially in the United States? So a recent study by Medline shows that only 7% of Americans are satisfied with the current healthcare system. I think you will all agree, 7% is a very, very low number, very small percentage. The desire for change even crosses political lines. So it's not a one political party stand or opinion. 6 out of 10 people from the multiple political affiliations agree that the healthcare system needs changes or a complete overhaul. According to a Gallup poll, 7 in 10 think the current healthcare system is in a state of crisis or having major problems, with similar sentiments expressed for almost 30 years. So this is not a new sentiment. It's been expressed over the past 30 years. So it's pretty consistent. The United States, in particular, trails far behind other high-income countries on measures of healthcare affordability, administrative efficiency, equity, and outcomes. These are the findings of a study by the Commonwealth Fund. I'm not going to go into details because I would rather spend time talking about Ayurveda, but this is a little bit of a synopsis of that study. And you can see in the conclusion part, 4 features distinguish top performing countries from United States. They provide for universal coverage and remove cost barriers. That's taking the healthcare model towards more equitable access. The second point is where I would like you to pay attention. They invest in primary care systems. Now, this is what is missing acutely in the US healthcare model, especially. They reduce administrative burdens that divert time, the system is becoming stronger, the client is shrinking. The value that should be paid to the client is reducing, shrinking constantly. And the systems and the administrative procedures, the billing, and those kind of things are taking up more energy, effort, and time, as well as attention. They invest in social services, the countries that are top performing. They invest in social services, especially for children and working age adults. Now, this is just I have 3 slides that will show you where the ranking of United States is. And you can see that for all parameters, US is ranked last except for care process. But at any point, we need to have a balance between care process and the client. The care process cannot, the attention time, energy given to the care process cannot be higher than the client. I hope you all will agree about that. And you can see in every other parameter, which should be, important, US ranks last. That's a very poor ranking with comparable nations. And you can see in comparative healthcare system performance scores also, US is last. And this is a graph that shows the GDP fund, the percentage of the GDP that is spent on healthcare. And you can see United States has almost doubled the percentage of its GDP, which is almost 18%. United States spends, which is double the amount of any other comparable country, with poorer outcomes. So this is not going in the right direction. As you can see, this is a very, very short synopsis of what the status of the current healthcare system is. Now, if not Western care model, then what else? Now, when anybody starts to look around, what else can I use for my wellness needs or my health needs, my health concerns, then there are hundreds of, this is just a very small, again, snapshot. If you go into Wikipedia, you will find probably 200 to 200 plus alternate or CAM or complementary and alternate medicine modalities out there. And in this particular screenshot, Ayurveda is not even, anywhere in the central counting. Even in some other website, the Google searches that I found, Ayurveda is not listed in many of them. So that is another challenge. So today I'm going to share with you why Ayurveda. Knowledge accumulated over centuries. So this is not something that is a recent, new age, fashionable, trending method of wellness. This knowledge has accumulated over many, many centuries through observed data, through observation of real human behavior, their interaction with the external environment, with the seasons, with the changing patterns of everything else in the ecosystem where the human beings are born, they grow up, they live their life. So all of those factors have been taken into consideration in this science, life science, that is one of the world's most ancient, continuously practiced system of health and wellness. So knowledge accumulated over centuries, and there is a lot of significance to that. I think if we start talking about the Western medical science, I think a lot of you will agree with me that even in the so-called scientific system of medicine, there is considerable experimentation that is going on, right? The Western medical science is presented to us as the scientific one. However, if you start to dissect and examine all of the aspects of the Western medicine, there is a lot of experimentation going on, a lot of experimentation in the public messaging. Unfortunately, we don't have time to cover all that today, but I'll give you just one example. Up to maybe even as recent as 5 years ago, I think the saturated fat were put in the villain category, correct? Any kind of saturated fat. I think you will all agree with me. However, as of maybe 5 to 10 years ago, even the Western medical system, the dietitians, the nutritionists have started to change. It has not changed still across the board, that not all saturated fats are bad. Some saturated fats are good. So now coconut oil is flooding the market, right? So this is just a very tiny example of how public health messaging can keep changing with very little data, just a few studies, and a blanket statement is made. And that affects the entire population and their eating habits, the way food is delivered to us, the way food is grown, etc., etc. So a lot of experimentation is going on. However, with a system like Ayurveda, there is no experimentation going on. It is a time-tested system that has stood the test of time. So these are some of the values of knowledge accumulated over centuries. So it has stood the test of time, as I just said. Huge focus on primary prevention. Now, if you remember in the 4 points that I had shared earlier of top performing nations in healthcare, primary care is something they really pay attention to. In United States specifically, primary prevention is nowhere in the focus. Whatever you have in the name of prevention is in screening. And whenever you are screening for something, you're already waiting for something to happen, and then you're trying to catch it early. However, there is still the fact that the system is geared towards catching something that has already happened. That is not primary prevention. That is secondary prevention. Primary prevention is where you are educating the public at the primary care level, at the PCP level, to live in a way where diseases actually do not happen. They do not generate, or they are drastically, significantly minimized. And this is a huge difference. And Ayurveda focuses on that because the first stated goal of Ayurveda is swasthasya swasthya rakshanam. Swastha means healthy. So the first stated goal of Ayurveda in the classic texts is maintenance of the health of the healthy. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in the upcoming slides. But again, why Ayurveda? Ayurveda uses herbs versus drugs that are used in the Western medicine system. Herbs means that they are part of the natural ecosystem again. And we as people have evolved and recognize, our system recognizes, not that we are visually recognizing, our system, our metabolic system, our immune system recognizes these plants because we have evolved alongside these plants and herbs. They are not alien to our body, unlike the drugs, which are chemicals. Primarily, they are chemical salts, isolated principles, which is not what our system is familiar with. And therefore, all drugs have side effects. No matter which drug you pick up, you can actually Google the number of side effects that any drug has. And this is a huge difference because we, in the process of eliminating or trying to resolve a disease, should not be harming the person. And that is something that is inevitable when any person is put on a drug. That's a huge difference. Now, this is another very important difference between Ayurveda and Western medical system, that root cause analysis is not done and root cause is not addressed. And therefore, once you get a prescription, the prescription is usually for lifetime, right? Pick up any of the chronic diseases. And again, here I would want to remind anybody who's listening in that most of the disease burden in the United States is from chronic diseases. And the minute you use the word chronic, they're all preventable. And the minute you hear this or see the word chronic, it means that it is likely to be with you lifelong if you do not treat the root cause or do not address the root cause. So any disease, any familiar disease that you can think of, psoriasis or eczema or arthritis or any autoimmune diseases that you can think of, all are treated in the Western medical science symptomatically only, and by camouflaging or suppressing the symptoms. And that is not a smart way to go about addressing any disease. If you just step back and think about, is that really intelligent way of addressing a health issue? So that is a very big difference. Whereas in Ayurveda and most of the traditional ancient sciences, health sciences like Chinese medicine, Tibetan medicine, or any other ethnic traditional medicine systems that have evolved over eons, in those systems, always the root cause is analyzed. Root cause analysis is done, and that is addressed as part of the treatment plan, and which is why most of the times people who enter care with these systems are able to have a proper resolution to their diseases and complete resolution to their diseases. Some of you who are here have been my clients, and you have witnessed that, along with so many others, of course. But that is a huge difference. Another big difference is capacity building. So this is something that is, again, gapingly missing in the Western medical system. If, let's say, somebody has diabetes, then only insulin producing medication is given, or other chemicals are administered that can help in different other ways by suppressing hunger, etc. However, nothing is done to build the capacity of the main production house of insulin, which is pancreas. Or let's say in a metabolic disease, there is nothing in the Western medical system to help boost or assist or strengthen the functioning of the liver, for example. In Ayurveda, we have many such herbs which are called tonics, brain tonics, liver tonics, heart tonics, etc., on which there are many studies as well, scientific studies as well, which have demonstrated that the functioning of that particular organ or gland had improved after the administration of that particular herb and or formulation. So that's another very big difference. We also are talking about healing and managing illness in a holistic manner, which means we are not just talking about what the client is presenting, but we are taking into account not just the physical body, but the mind, spirit, emotional well-being, social well-being, etc. So very holistic approach compared to the Western medical science. Ayurveda, like some other holistic, traditional holistic systems like Chinese medicine, as I've already mentioned, and also homeopathy, is a system of personalization, customization. So the belief is that no two people are alike, which is a fact. We all know that. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in the coming slides. So personalized medicine and specialized therapies. Comprehensive care, as I was just talking about, that it's not just the body that is the center of attention in an Ayurvedic consultation, but the entire being, entire individual, along with their mental, spiritual, emotional well-being. So it's a complete holistic approach for the wholeness of the healing. And that is the beauty of a system like Ayurveda. Now, at this time, I would like to bring your attention to something that we use a lot in our lives. So, what is this? These are gadgets and appliances. And whenever we are using gadgets and appliances, we are looking to understand what is the model of this particular gadget or appliance before we start using it, right? So that is something we do by default, and we, are accustomed to doing that for anything around us that we use to make our lives better. But when it comes to us, we don't do that. So this is an important thing to take note of, that we also have a unique model. And if we can find out what is our model and then operate our lives with that information, we can do so much better, because like the gadgets and appliances that you see on the screen, if you don't know and if you start operating, let's not take the example of phones or laptops. Let's say you get a robotic cleaner and you have never used it and you don't pick up the user manual, you may be able to use it somewhat by trial and error. However, the best way to use it and the most efficient way to use it would be to find out how does it operate, what is the model, what can it do, and what it cannot do. And then lastly, what are some of its maintenance requirements? Once you do that, you will really be able to use that appliance or gadget for its full lifespan and in the best way possible, right? To its utmost capacity and potential, whatever that gadget has to offer to you. Because if you don't read, you might not be actually using some of the features that that particular appliance or gadget has. Oops, sorry. Okay. And this is exactly what we do for our vehicles also. So everything around us, we are, always looking for what is the model, what can it do, what are the features, etc. And what are some of the maintenance requirements. And again, usually if it's a high-end vehicle, you will try and use premier fuel for it. And a lot of times we are doing these things for everything around us, the appliances, the gadgets, the cars. But when it comes to us, we compromise big time. So this is, again, another very common general behavior that you can see. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so we try to find the best solutions, and we also change the parts of the, let's say, the vehicle as per the season. But when it comes to us, we are trying to live the same way across all seasons, right? If it's too hot, we have to, have the car maintained in a different way. If it's snowing, if it's extremely cold, below freezing, etc., then the car needs to be prepared that way. So we are doing the seasonal maintenance for everything around us but us. So these are some of the, things that I wanted to point out, that we have kind of taken leave of our common sense, unfortunately, in the 21st century. And Ayurveda is actually what I like to call a user manual, a life user manual that tells us how to live our lives in a common sense, smart way, giving us guidelines for maintenance, for finding out what is our blueprint, our model, what are the things that this model can do very well, what are some of the vulnerable areas of this particular model that you are born with, because we don't have a choice what model we are born with. So what we know today as a fact, our DNA is unique. We are born with a unique DNA, but from the Ayurvedic perspective, Ayurveda has already stated about 5,000 years ago that no two people are alike. So there is a different framework, but Ayurveda has said the same thing, that no two people are alike, and therefore, all of us should be knowing ideally what our model is and eating and selecting our other, things in life according to that specific model that we are born with, so that we can optimize our life, our wellness throughout our life, the quality of life. So Ayurveda is like that user manual that provides all these guidelines and resources and knowledge and information and solutions for all phases of our lives, and all situations in our lives, and helps us to lead a life full of potential and to the complete lifespan, and with a high quality of life. So let's understand what is Ayurveda. Ayurveda is a Sanskrit term that is made up of two individual Sanskrit words, Ayu and Veda. Ayu means life, Veda means science of. So simply translated, Ayurveda means the science of life itself. the knowledge stream of life itself. It's a beautiful word. It's a beautiful concept. And it's a beautiful name that signifies a user manual of life, as I was just saying. Now, if I were to condense Ayurveda in 3 words, I would say that I can, this is an elevator pitch, very, very brief 3 words. Ayurveda is about 3 P's, and I hope this will be helpful for you to remember what Ayurveda is about. Personalization, promotion, and prevention. All right. Just these 3 words, if you can remember: personalization, promotion, and prevention. And I'll explain a little bit more what it means. So we'll start with prevention. As I was speaking earlier, prevention is always better than cure. We all know that. So what does prevention mean in Ayurveda? What is Ayurveda talking about prevention? Now, I'll go back to the first stated goal of Ayurveda as a science. Once again, the first stated goal in Sanskrit is swasthasya swasthya rakshanam. This verse means that it is the goal of Ayurveda to preserve and protect the health of the healthy. Now, this is a beautiful, potent verse. And every word, I can just talk about this verse for a couple hours because every word can be dissected. For example, swastha is a Sanskrit word again, which is made up of 2 Sanskrit words, swa and astha. Swa means self. Astha means to be established in. So swastha means to be established in yourself, not somebody else's self. So this actually requires for you to know yourself. It's a beautiful, beautiful verse, which is also encouraging anybody who reads this to want to know yourself. Because if you don't know yourself, nobody else will. So before we outsource our well-being to anybody else, I think it's our duty, it's our responsibility, it's our self-love to know who we are. And then to know how can we align in this self that we are, how to be respectful, how to be loving and caring of the self that we know we are. So it's really, really beautiful, this whole concept, but it continues into actually tangible recommendations, guidelines of daily self-care, which can include eye care, ear care, skin care, oral care. So many things are listed under dinacharya, which literally translated means daily self-care or daily rituals. And then ritucharya, which means how do we change our choices as per the seasons, right? So that is seasonal care. Food and lifestyle as per your body type. And I'll in a minute be talking about what does body type mean. Again, choosing aligned choices for our well-being. Hormonal harmony, how do we achieve that? Mental well-being, how can we achieve that? Simple solutions. How do we ensure care in transitional phases of our life? For example, for women, we have very well-defined transitional phases: menarche, motherhood, menopause. Even for males we have, but not as well-defined. So whatever the transitional phases, how can we sail smoothly between these transitions with the guidance and wisdom in Ayurveda? Age-related protocols. How do we age beautifully, gracefully, in a healthful manner? So much is written about that alone. So there are 8 branches of Ayurveda, which are actually very much like the branches of Western medicine, like pediatrics, gynecology, obstetrics, geriatrics. So all of those branches are also found in Ayurveda, and you find specified targeted protocols for that particular, those the concerns and health issues in those particular branches. healthy progeny guidelines. This is just a very small list of what is there in terms of prevention, how to prepare. Again, preparing for a healthy progeny is the prevention of the best kind, because then you are trying to ensure that the progeny, the young one that is born. Okay, yeah, I believe somebody has to leave, but yeah, whoever needs to leave, this is being recorded, and I'll be happy to share the recording. Periodic structured deep tissue detox. So that is something, again, which is very, very unique to Ayurveda. Even our homes, we do routine cleaning, and sometimes we have to do deep cleaning. And there is value to that, because routine cleaning does not cover all the corners and nooks of the house. Similarly, with our body, over a period of time, we tend to accumulate toxins and gunk. So that needs to be clean. And we have structured detox protocols in Ayurveda. This is just, again, a synopsis of what can be done for prevention. Promotion. This is a unique concept in Ayurveda. So the central key concept is that if you're born with X amount of health, how can we make it X plus 1, X plus 2, or even X square? So this is a very unique concept in Ayurveda. I was mentioning the tonics. So we have eye tonics, liver tonics, heart tonics, brain tonics, skin tonics, etc. Body work therapies, beauty protocols, anti-aging solutions. So much is there in terms of promotion. Now, the most important and the central point is the concept of personalization or customization. Once again, I'm going to switch on the light. And, we all know that everybody is unique. And we were just talking about Western science agrees. Western science, through the Western medical science, we know everybody has a unique DNA. But Ayurveda has said it in a different framework 5,000 years ago. And you can see from this brief collage of pictures how, we all can be very different, right? So this is a very key concept in Ayurveda, and it is based on a metaphysical framework of approaching the universe, not just human beings, but the universe, which also has human beings in it. So the very central key metaphysical concept of framework in Ayurveda says that the entire universe is made up of or from 5 fundamental energy principles, okay? And these are ether or akasha or space, empty space, air or vayu, fire, agni, water, jala, and earth, prithvi. So for a minute, let's get out of our left brain, which has its limitations, and just receive this new framework in an open way. And the beauty of Ayurveda is that it starts with a metaphysical and a framework that is something our brains are not used to, because we are conditioned in our university style of education to understand science only from one perspective. But science can be understood from different perspectives, and this is a very age-old, time-tested framework of understanding the universe. So for a minute, just bear with me. The applications of this metaphysical framework are extraordinary and very, very applicable framework. So you will see that in a minute. So let's just stay with this, that the entire universe is made from and out of these 5 energy principles, which are earth, water, fire, air, ether. Okay. Now, these 5 elements represent in our body in the form of 3 functional entities, which are called doshas, vata, pitta, and kapha. You don't have to remember the names, but these are the names that are given to these 3 functional entities. And vata is ether, air, pitta is fire, water, and kapha is earth, water. Okay, for a minute, if you can just remember the composing elements of these 3 functional entities. So Vata is an entity in our body, controls movements, and the remaining two doshas. So Vata is the boss dosha. It's responsible for basic body processes such as breathing, cell division, circulatory, sensory and motor nerve transmissions, etc. Anything that moves in the body is under the purview of Vata. So whatever you can imagine, the blood is moving, the lymph is moving, the breath is moving, nerve impulses are moving, anything that is moving at a gross level, macro level, or at a micro level, at the cellular level, is a function of Vata. So you see, even though the central basic principle is broad and, very metaphysical in nature, what comes under this metaphysical framework is something that we do understand, and which is the different systems in the body. Anything that moves is under Vata, and people with Vata as their main dominant energy, that is the blueprint now we are talking about, body type, they tend to be thinner, leaner, bony, skeletal, petite, quick in everything, speech, walking. So many characteristics are defined under the Vata prototype or body type. Pitta as a principle regulates everything that's transforming in the body, which includes hormones, enzymes, metabolism, digestive fires, anything that's transforming in any which way, the catabolic activities, the anabolic activities, any transformations are under Pitta. Pitta people tend to have a fiery personality, which aligns with the Agni or the fire principle. Everything about them is powerful, reddish, sharp, just like the fire principle. They can tend to be critical, temperamental, and even aggressive. Kapha people tend to be larger people. This is the earth, water personalities, the body type. More material, so they tend to be the larger, wide shoulders, big bones, etc. Any principles in the body that are to do with strength, immunity, stability, growth, grounding, binding, etc., are to do with Kapha. Kapha people tend to be very stable because the earth grounds them, loyal, good listeners, laid back, etc. However, okay, we will not be covering this today, but however, okay, so just I'll go to the next slide and then we'll come back to that. However, there are some downsides too. And as per the body type, there can be 7 body types, but let's take the single dosha body types. Vata people can tend to be anxious, worriers, fearful, dry skin because air dries. So dryness can be a key characteristic of Vata people. They can tend to be constipated, drying in the colons, drying in the joints. So, cold, dry, light are the 3 characteristics among the others of Vata. Pitta people, all heating conditions. So inflammatory conditions, heartburn, ulcers, hypertension, they fall under the Pitta category. Kapha people tend to be more prone to sedentary habits related health issues like diabetes, obesity, congestion, sinusitis, etc. So each body type comes with its own strengths. So for example, there are 7 body types, and there are detailed characteristics and template to be able to identify and assess the particular body type of that individual. And based on that, there can be a predictive analysis of what are their characteristics and what will be their vulnerabilities health-wise. What are some of the conditions they need to watch out for proactively? And that's the preventative way of living, knowing your model. And if the disease does occur, then knowing what is the prototype and what is the imbalance in which dosha, and according to that, giving food recommendations, lifestyle recommendations, and herb protocols. So if an individual follows the diet regimen and lifestyle according to one's body type, with an awareness of the daily and seasonal variations, diseases can be kept at bay. We all want that, right? And if still disease happens, then one can manage it in the most optimal manner. Okay, yeah. How does one assess the prototype? There are templates to that, Malvika, detailed templates, which someone like me, for example, so I have a 5.5 years of BA/MS degree education and then 3 years of MD education. And at this time, 30 plus years of practice experience. So one needs to be, of course, trained to be able to determine the body type. And that's something I offer. So once again, to summarize what we have learned today, why Ayurveda? Knowledge accumulated over centuries, a science that has stood the test of time, experimentations are not going on, huge focus on primary prevention, which is the smart way to go, more self-care, more guidelines for various phases of life, etc. Herbs versus drugs, it's more like having food for your well-being, in many ways, no chemicals. Targets root causes, capacity building, heals and manages illnesses in a holistic manner, personalized medicine, specialized therapies, and a comprehensive care model, mind, body, spirit. This is what I offer in my practice. I specialize in autoimmune diseases and women's health issues, hormonal health issues, children's issues, Lyme disease, etc., etc. And this is my contact info. You can take a screenshot of this. I'll stop sharing in just a few seconds. I think I finished on time, Joanne. Not bad. So we have 30 minutes to interact Q&A. I think if you all have taken note of my contact info, I'll stop sharing now. All right. I hope you found this helpful as a very, very introductory talk. It's difficult to cover such a vast science in a short period of time, but I tried to give you an overview. So yeah, I would request everybody if you can come on video, if you're comfortable, or at least interact by unmuting. That will be great. Any questions, any comments, any inputs, thoughts?
Do you?
I have.
Mridula, I think I hear you.
Yes, I wanted to share a thought. Like
Sure, Miranda.
when you mentioned about, the 7%, only 7% of the population is happy with the American medical system. I was like, I was the only one unhappy one, so just getting that number, I was like, okay, I'm not the only one. And, whatever I'm looking for is valid. So that was a confirmation.
Absolutely. You would be shocked. I mean, my nature of my work is such that most of the clients that I get have already tried everything. And as a last resort, they come, and there are so many of them with no solution in sight.
Right.
Yeah. Susan, I see you have unmuted.
I have. I think that one of the qualities of Ayurveda is that you get to learn how to help yourself. And in their traditional Western medicine, they don't teach you that. A lot of people feel helpless a lot of times, and they don't always know where to turn or what to do to help themselves. So learning Ayurveda and learning your own body type and is a wonderful tool to have to carry through your lifetime.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, Susan. So Susan has been with me for, I don't know, a decade or so, her family, and she's a big proponent of Ayurveda, because Ayurveda is not, again, a system of medicine. I call it a system of life. And I don't even have to see Susan frequently at all, because it stays with you. It empowers you, all the guidelines, all the principles that you learn around life. And my goal with my clients is that they should not need me after a certain point, because if I'm having to see someone on a ongoing basis, then I'm not doing my job properly. So that's always my goal with my clients.
So Pratibha, I had one more question. Like the Ayurveda stuff is not covered in insurance, right? So is there any work being done so that, if we wanted to go with Ayurveda, like right now we are forced, because of our insurance plan, we are forced to go with the traditional medicine, even though we are not happy. Do you know if there's any progress going on around that area?
So I have two things to say about that. One is that there's no money in wellness.
Right. Okay.
There's money only in sickness. And that's something you have to internalize and understand how the system works. And the pharma lobby is extremely powerful, and they will not allow or encourage wellness modalities to come forward to be part of the primary healthcare system. Okay. So it's all a money game, number one. Number two, and I understand that that's certainly a barrier, can be a barrier for a lot of people, but I encourage people to think about it differently. Think of a system like Ayurveda as an investment in your health, not as an expense, because you're looking at utilizing a system, then having a lifelong, unresolved concern.
Right.
And you do start paying into that also at some point, even though you have an insurance coverage, because things don't work out. And take any condition, the drugs start to add up, then you have side effects from the drug, then you have a drug for the side effects. It just goes on. So I also try to encourage people to think about systems like Ayurveda as an investment in themselves, their health. It is an expense, but over a period of time, it pays off.
Well, and most people were suppressed to understand that you were born able to heal yourself, and we are powerful beings. And I knew it I'm very blessed. I was telling earlier that I get touched by spirit, but I also at the age of 10 had a situation where I was sick and I needed to go out and play the games because I ran all the games in the neighborhood, and I prayed and I got better. So I knew at the age of 10 we could heal ourselves. And I knew by the power of believing that I was going to get better so I could go outside with the kids and do what I needed to do. So it's understanding that not always, and I've had an experience being in the hospital and they told me they were going to cut my leg off or I would die. And I looked at them and I said, that ain't happening. And I helped myself get out of that situation by the power of using my brain and really the psychoneuroimmunology of my heart. The heart is such a powerful organ to help you heal and to believe in yourself and believe in the self-healing. And I love this because it is about natural healing and believing in yourself and understanding that you can do this, and that these diseases that they make. And I studied disease back in the 90s, and it's all the same thing with different symptoms. It's inflammation, it's toxicity and malfunctioning of your cells, and that can come from different pathways. It can be emotional, psychological, physical, environment, foods, all these different things that we're surrounded by. And unfortunately, they've made our environment so toxic, especially with 5G. So I think, joining with everything that you're talking about, and I hope you don't mind me going on like this, but this is part of what I teach, but I don't teach Ayurveda. And I'm like, I want to side up with you because I really work on a cellular level with exercise, but also I've always felt that you have to take care of your mind and not listen to everything. I've always been not a follower, and I've just always believed in nature and grounding and being outside. And they never talked about that once with this pandemic. Not once did they talk about your immune system and hugging and loving, and they suppressed everything that was about you being healthy. And then you weren't around anybody, so then when people got around each other, they all got sick because they weren't exposed. But get in the sunshine, because that's your number one fuel. Anyway, I don't want to say, I just want to kind of add to that.
No. Thank you for saying that, and thank you, Aarti, for joining. I just want to add to that everybody may not be in that state of awareness or may not have the power of mind that much. I would like to acknowledge that people can get sick enough where it can get, worse. So I would say both are needed. Power of mind, of course, there is nothing more powerful than that. But for some people, it can take time to develop that. Some people are blessed with it, but some people may not be there yet, So, but the important point to take away is that you do have systems that can help enable the healing with proper food, lifestyle, herbs, etc. So this is the most important thing to understand, and also, take away what Joanne is trying to say is that believe in the healing capacity of your body, of course, but I mean, if you're having a heart attack, rush to the hospital. Do not do Reiki at that time. You have to be careful, where the boundaries are. So, yeah, any other questions, concerns? I hope this talk was helpful.
I had a quick question, Pratibha.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just love the talk that you gave. And, I work, I'm a mental health professional, and I totally believe that, there is a fear factor that comes up, especially with our health, and for women and even men after a certain age, when they have, I don't like to use the word misuse, but for lack of awareness, they have now a body that has a lot of things in it that needs repair and rebuilding. How does one educate them about correction and lifestyle correction and day-to-day care? What is your take on that?
I think you have hit on a very good point. I think education is key. And that's what I'm trying to do through one of my nonprofits, Holistic Health Alliance. So we hold one free talk every month, and we have a different type of practitioner every month that is trying to educate. See, this month this month is coming up. In February, we had a dietitian and a health coach who gave a combined talk about, mental well-being, emotional well-being, spiritual well-being, because oftentimes diseases are coming from that area. We don't realize, you don't connect the dots. In fact, I feel that's a very, very overlooked area. So this particular nonprofit, the Holistic Health Alliance, which I founded in 2012, I incorporated it in 2015. And Malvika, send me an email. I would love to talk to you about it if you're a mental health professional, because the youth wing of this nonprofit, which I call Youth Brigade, they started a teen mental health initiative about 2 years ago. And right now we have 42 high school chapters in less than 2 years focused on mental health. 42 school chapters.
What did you say the organization was called?
Holistic Health. Can I share the URL in the chat?
Yes, please.
Please open it and save it, and then send me an email, because I would love to connect with you.
Absolutely. I will do that. When I meet with my clients, the first thing, I give them homework, but let's not get into that. But just talking about how unaware they are of the connection between mind and body, and how just that small awareness of, okay, maybe you should just drink water,
or breathe. Free resources.
The grounding technique that you just did, and the mindfulness was like, it just realigns people. And sometimes people just forget to do that because, there is a fear, there is so many things running after one thing after the other. We forget basic things that's just within us. And
oh my God, you're speaking my mind. Yes. Yes. So much education is required. Did you get the URL?
Yes, I clicked on it.
Do send me an email. I would love to connect with you. This is exactly what I try to
Oh man,
teach and preach and follow in my life as well. I tell people, if you are able to mitigate or eliminate stress, I think 80% of your diseases will go away.
Yeah.
Stress is the
So
biggest
much
killer.
so much of fear, and
Yes.
then, yeah. And you were talking about just how the secondary prevention just comes into picture, and the focus then just goes on that, and everything
Yes.
is lost. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not client-centric, it's just in Ayurveda, the person is important. In Western medicine, the disease is important, and that changes everything, the whole approach.
Yeah, even with mental health, right? I mean, nobody goes to the root cause. Everybody's putting a band-aid on something that's happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you for saying that. That's such a key point, and I so believe in that, which is why the nonprofit was founded. I was like, we have to educate the public. We have to, and we are constantly trying to do that in our own grassroots way. We need more people, always.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll connect with you, Pratibha, very soon.
Mridula is part of it, and Susan is part of it. And I'm going to just tell Joanne also to join our platform. It's so nominal to join. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
One more thing I liked about Ayurveda is kind of recognizing everybody is different. So we don't all fit into the, traditional medicine, they give you a name and they try to fit everybody into that bucket, not realizing your body or the medicine might not behave the same. So, I'm really interested to try Ayurveda. I've heard of it, right, Pratibha? This is the reason I joined today. I was like, I want to learn a little bit more. But the things that you just mentioned about, the treatments are going to be specific to the person, that means a lot to me. It's like,
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not being fit into a box. I'm different. Let's recognize that, right? So
Right.
that was interesting.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And also, not just that, the diseases are also, the minute you see the term syndrome, you have to know the doctors know nothing about this. And the minute you see the word idiopathic, the doctors know nothing about it. So it's a lot of experimentation, right? I mean, the Crohn's, the celiac, the, MS, so, take any 80 plus autoimmune diseases, etc. There is no understanding. Forget about the solution.
Right.
There's no understanding how does it happen, and they mention it in their medical books. We don't know how it happens.
Yeah, and how much, take Crohn's for that example. For example, how many types and how many things are told to them, and again, the focus is completely gone from the client. The client is not eating well. The client is not. The health is completely gone, and added now is a mental distress that they have to go through.
Yes, and possibly mental distress was also a contributor in because all the gut health issues are to do with the mind and of course the type of food. I mean, it's like you're not getting to the basics, dear. You will never be able to resolve it. So it's very tragic, when I see that. And with Ayurveda, I have seen so much turnaround and like resolution. I hesitate to say much on platforms, claiming anything because it's not a licensed profession. But my reward is my clients who completely turn around. I just got an email from a client who walked in with hip pain and shoulder pain and whatnot. And she has written to me and, in 2 days, she's able to get up and walk in 2 days. And she's almost feeling back to 100%. It's a myth when people say, "Oh, holistic takes years to work and it's very slow."
Right.
See, I'm a very integrative approach person. Again, as I said, if you are having a acute case of pneumonia or heart attack or something, go get stabilized. For that, your Western medical care system is a good safety net to go to. But for everything else, don't go there.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents. Yeah.
Do you run certifications for practitioners?
I teach. I'm a senior faculty for 2 institutes, but unfortunately, one has gone to India faculty now completely in COVID times because that's economical. And the second one is closing down. It was in Down Under Yoga. But I'm going to I'm starting my own 8-module course and all like that, like basic education home remedies and those kind of things. I'm just within 2-3 days that announcement will be made. Oh, by the way, that reminds me, I'm doing a cooking series with Joanne. It will be at least a 5-session series. And the first one is coming up on April 2nd.
Yes.
Joanne, give me 1 second. I'll just share that flyer just for FYI, because we thought food is a good way to go forward. So give me 1 second. Yeah, so you can stay tuned for more at my, my Facebook page, or so this is the cooking classes that it's not just cooking classes, you get to cook, eat, learn, basically. So a lot of information will be given in these series. I'll be announcing this today. I'll make the event page.
That's not an online event, right? That's a in-person, right?
This is not online because it will involve cooking, but the 8-module basic Ayurveda course that I'm going to announce within 2-3 days will be all across US.
Okay.
I have offered that earlier, much earlier, but now that I'm winding down my teaching responsibilities, I'll be offering more courses on my own platform.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining. It's always a very good experience to be able to share the wisdom of Ayurveda, or I'll just say the wisdom of healing and well-being with anybody. Even if it's one person, it's always a great experience. So thank you for joining. I'll stop recording at this